Justin with the Alaska Podcast, and I'm here with my co-host,
Billy. Thanks, Justin.
And then we are here with
Adam Heafner with First Rate Financial.
Welcome to the show, Adam.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yep, round two here. So First Rate Financial, give us a little bit of background about First Rate Financial.
Sure. We are Alaska owned and operated. We lend all across the state of Alaska, but only in Alaska. So we are for Alaskans by Alaskans. We have been open for 17 years, give or take some margin on that. We are one of Alaska's largest brokerages. So we do mortgage lending, residential home loans, 1 to 4 units, refinance, purchase, everything in that realm. We don't lend our own money, though. So as a broker, we work with some of the nation's largest wholesale mortgage lenders. We are excited and proud to be a broker, as it offers us an opportunity to get some of the largest wholesale mortgage lenders to compete for your business. And so I think there's like a Lending Tree commercial a decade ago, and it was like, when lenders compete, you win.
Right.
And we are like the physical embodiment of that in Alaska. So we play these lenders against each other, allows us to offer more products, better services, better rates, and get to say yes to more people. So allows us to get more Alaskans in homes because we have the ability to shop guidelines and programs and find a way to get people into homes.
And arguably, it gives people control of their finances a little bit. You know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're big on education. Big on education. We like to say you should get educated, not sold. Right. Too many people out there are selling things. It's important for us to protect our clients. And I think that educating them on their options, their choices, and where they have control in this process is huge.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. So many people just, in this industry, go through the sales process in this industry transactionally. Right. And not
totally
really building a relationship with someone. And, we've mentioned this a few different times, but being that trusted advisor with someone, and that comes with educating them and letting them make what is the best choice and what their scenario is, because you most likely don't get the entire 100% crystal ball into their life, right?
Right.
They do.
And people forget that, these business decisions that we're making have really significant impacts on people's lives, and not just, the person buying the house, but the agent involved, the title person, the lender, and all these other people that go into this transaction.
Yeah, it's a 30-year commitment. I mean, if you face value, it's a 30-year promise.
Right.
Most marriages in America today do not last 30 years.
Right.
And frankly, it's easier to get out of a marriage than to get out of a mortgage. So yeah, there are consequences, to your actions here. And it's frankly frustrating, and I would imagine you guys feel the same way, that there are too many professionals out there on your side of the table and mine that are salespeople, salesmen, saleswomen. And ultimately, at the end of the day, unfortunately, this is a sales job, air quotes. I think that selling gets a nasty reputation. Ultimately, selling is solving problems.
Correct.
It's passionately solving problems. Some people, though, get into this industry not to solve problems, but to chase those commission checks. And you could tell them, man, they got that commission breath all over them.
Yeah.
And that is frustrating to me. I think it devalues the value that a real professional brings to the table. And so, in my eyes, a real professional, as a real estate agent or as a mortgage professional, is going to take the time to get to know their client. They're going to ask questions. You're looking at that crystal ball, as you mentioned, Justin. I think that's really important to be curious enough and to invest enough of yourself and your time to listen to them and then be able to, with curiosity, solve their problems. Right. That's ultimately what selling is solving problems, using your experience, your knowledge, your past history to, with curiosity and passion, solve problems.
Well, that's the fun part. That's what keeps it dynamic. I don't get bored in this job, because even though the transaction process is arguably pretty similar every time, right? Every single transaction I've done has been different.
Yeah. The solution's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. You have different stakeholders, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's got their own thing, and everybody's on their own agenda. And I tell people that all the time. I was like, don't feel pressure. It's whenever you're ready to do the right thing. When the right product comes on the market that you like, maybe that's the right time for you. I don't know.
Yeah. One of the things that just keeps me engaged in this industry, I've been doing mortgages for close to 20 years at this point, and one of the things that keeps me engaged and interested, despite the fact that a transaction's a transaction, is that they're all puzzles. They're all like Rubik's Cubes. They're all like puzzles. And there's not just one way to solve the problem.
Yeah.
There's an unlimited number of ways that you could solve the problem. And so it's putting together the puzzle pieces of the Rubik's Cube in a way that is creative, unique, individualized, and custom to that person, that family, you know?
Right.
So like if I want to get from Anchorage to Fairbanks, I could drive a car. I could drive a station wagon. I could drive a Corvette. I could drive an off-road truck. I could take a plane. I could take a float plane, could take a helicopter, could take a boat, could take a four-wheeler, could take a Jeep. I can get from here to Fairbanks a bunch of different ways.
Some sort of combination of land
Yeah.
and air.
Right.
You know, you got.
And so to me, the worst possible thing that can happen is that if I talk to a professional, say, hey, man, my goal is to get to Fairbanks. And they just clap their hands. They're like, yes, sir, Adam, I'm going to get you to Fairbanks. You know, don't you worry, I'm going to get you to Fairbanks. And I trust that they will. They're going to get me to where I want to go, but are they going to get me there in the way that I want to get there, right? And so I think that if you start answering with solutions right away without asking, okay, Adam, what's your timeline? How quick? How slow? Do you want to be in luxury? Do you want to be in the air? Do you want to be on a boat or a train? Like, let's ask some questions.
I could get you on a plane to Fairbanks.
Yeah.
It's one way. It'll be cheaper, but you'll need a parachute.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yes, yeah. Yeah, you're going to get me to Fairbanks, but am I stoked when I get there, right?
6 days later.
Yeah, so it's taking the time to slow down, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's taking the time to slow down, get to know your clients, and asking some pointed questions.
Figure out the why.
Figure out the why, exactly. Yes, yeah. I think it's important also to, in the process early on, to figure out where you are today. So I'm big on planning. All right, I'm a big planner, big on planning, and so during the planning process, we need to take an accurate and honest account of where you are today with your family, your finances, your job history, your credit, how much money you got in the bank, what's your budget look like? Do you have a budget? Have you ever done a budget? Right? So where are you today? Then clearly define where do you want to get to? Is it Fairbanks or is it North Pole?
Right.
Is it Delta Junction? Like, where exactly, precisely do you want to get to? And then not until you've clearly outlined your starting point and your end point that we can start to trace the course of the best way to get there, you know?
Yeah.
I find a lot of people are too willing to just start walking, just start going before they've clearly identified where they're starting or where they're going to end up.
Yeah.
If you start walking with no endpoint, man, you're just going in circles.
Right. Yeah, I know. I fully agree, man. I just, we've had this discussion before. I teach all of our agents the same thing, right? Like, you can't sell someone anything until you figure out what they actually need, right? But there's a lot of people that try, so they don't do it very. I mean, like I said, it's very transactional for them.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting too is if you are a student of business and actually look at what a sales process looks like, the entire thing. Product selection is like way at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like the last thing.
One of the things that I would want out of any professional that I work with is not just to solve my problems. Yes, I want that. Like, obviously, that's the minimum barrier of entry is I want you to solve my problems with curiosity and compassion. Yeah. Also, I want my professional to challenge me a little bit. I want you to push back a little bit. I want you to challenge me. I want you to expose me to a thought or an idea that I was not able to come up with on my own. Ultimately, it's not my job to think all of the things that come with your profession. So like if I get an accountant, I'm not an accountant. That's why I have one, right? I don't prepare my own taxes. I got a professional for that. I want someone who's going to challenge me. Adam, did you think about this? There's an opportunity over here. You've been filing the same taxes the same way for all of these years. Why don't you do something else? Yeah. I think you're missing an opportunity over here, right? If I'm getting new tires for my truck, if I'm, getting new suspension, if I'm buying a new stereo, a camera, a new microphone, new podcast setup, whatever it is, I want someone who's going to say, Adam, I know you've done your research, but I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Have you ever thought about this? And I want that to be so provocative of an idea that it makes me sit back for a second. You know what? I didn't think about that, and it even makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm excited and I'm intrigued. Tell me more. Tell me more. Yeah. That's what I want for my professional. And so that's what we try to do at First Rate is to, solve problems with compassion and curiosity, take the time to invest, but also to push a little bit, to add some additional value. We're quickly getting to the point where I can, get on my phone right now. I can get on Amazon. I can get something delivered to me like next day. Everything is instant gratification in our society. And there's a ton of power in that. I love it. I use it every day. However, it's a slippery slope. If I start to think that I can do everything on an app on my iPhone, if I can file my taxes, if I can get a mortgage, if I can find my home, if I can, find a babysitter for my kids these days on my app, I like do it all. I can push a button. There's a car here to pick me up. A stranger.
It's awesome.
When I was a kid, stranger danger. You don't get in cars with strangers.
Right.
Nowadays, we're hopping in cars with strangers all the time. It's
We're
no big
meeting
deal.
all kinds of strangers off the internet. I always laugh about that because you really never know. And when I was growing up, that wasn't a thing that you did.
No.
Absolutely.
thing.
So I think it's dangerous to fall into the trap of thinking that you are the professional that can do everything with an app on your iPhone. I think that
Right.
there is a need in our world and always will be for a local, trusted professional that you can look at and touch, look you in the eye, that you can hold accountable, that I'm going to run into at Fred Meyer's later, where there's accountability there, and someone who is thinking about the things that I need to be thinking about but don't have the capacity and is going to
Yeah.
challenge and push me in that
Right.
way.
And along with that too, and that it's a valid point. It's a very valid point, and I 100% agree with you. And that is, inside of my friend group, or just people that are just inherently wealthy, tend to surround themselves with a tribe of people, right? Of people that are smarter than them, or are knowledge experts in their field. And so, if you're just randomly selecting people off of an app or a phone, right? And every time you do something that's transactional, are you really learning and growing with that individual, right? Most likely not, right? Now, if you partner with someone local, you get to have coffee, get to get education from them, right? Now they're providing you a sense of value. It's not just transactional, but every transaction that you do, you grow. And most likely, as you said, that professional is pushing you to increase self-development, but most likely like increasing your wealth along with it. So I think there's in our industries, especially, people discount that we have the ability to not only get them to buy and sell a property or give them a mortgage, but give them a lot of tools and resources to go beyond that and really go into investing and build a legacy for their families beyond just a house.
I totally agree. You become like the people you hang out with.
Right.
Full stop, for better or worse. If you hang around guys that are into football, you're going to get into football.
Right.
You hang around guys that are in off-road trucks, you're going to get in off-road trucks.
You have no option.
Yeah, you have. It just happens. It's because it's the
Like,
tribe
yeah,
mentality.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
you
gonna
are
need
going.
one of those so that way I can go on fun rides with my friends.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a tribe mentality. Human beings do.
Yeah.
We want to belong. We need to belong. It's part of our hierarchy of needs, Maslow's
Yeah.
hierarchy of needs. And so we will conform always to be like the people that we are around.
Correct.
And so you can use this tool for power. Like
Yep.
if I surround myself with people that are like making money in real estate, if I hang out with real estate investors, guess what? Just a matter of time before I'm making money in real estate. But man, if I'm hanging out with people that are a bunch of losers, before you know it's a matter of time, I'll be a loser too.
Yeah.
It just happens. You know?
Yeah, it's just funny, man, because you can see this. You see it on the LO end, and I see it on the real estate realtor end, right? And that is just people kind of go through this industry really chasing that commission check and not really providing the value that they should be providing, right? And it really kind of just, as an industry as a whole, just kind of lessens our value because the general public doesn't get to see what we can really do when put into that advisory role, right? To kind of like help and push you beyond what your like your ceiling is that you have set limited for yourself.
Well, and then
right?
too, you only have so much time to learn so many things. So it's probably
Right.
good to lean on people that spend all day reading about that subject or whatever
Or
it is
practicing
that you do,
it.
right? Like if you're a lawyer,
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
probably know a lot more about law because that's your job and you read books about the law all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're an accountant, similar thing. I would assume that you're very familiar with tax code changes. Like I get that thing, but then do I read? No, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about the tribe, you become like the people you hang out with. I think that's really important, right? So I'm intentional about the people that I spend my time with. And one of the things that's really important to me is straight talk and being like really transparently
Yes.
honest.
Yeah.
And so this came up in my life just a couple of days ago. I was talking to a friend who's in a different industry, and they got a phone call from someone else who's thinking about getting into their industry. And it was like, hey, tell me what it's like. What's it like here, there? And so tell them all about all the benefits. Here, I like this. This is awesome over here, opportunity, And at the end of this conversation, my friend said, hey, you know what, though? I lied a little bit. I did, I told him the truth and all the things, but man, now that I think about it, I lied a little bit. And I was like, oh man, like what happened? Like why would you do that? Like what did you lie about and why'd you do it? And she says, well, I didn't tell him that I was unhappy. I told him all the benefits that come with the job, the career, all the things. And there was a bunch of benefits. All of the things that were said were true.
Right.
What I didn't say was, I'm getting burnt out.
Yeah.
I'm unhappy.
The full transparency.
And I'm like, man, dude, you botched the whole thing. Like, I got to call you on this, man. Like, I gotta be straight with you. Mm-hmm. I think you missed an opportunity. I think you missed that, because to me, the most important thing you could have said was, I think I'm burnt out and I'm unhappy. That to me, if I was the one on the other side of that phone call, if I was one that was asking the question, right? If I came to you with curiosity and I knew that you had experience in this, and I'm looking at making a life change, a career change, and I asked you, what's it like? And you sold me on it. And you held back that you weren't happy. I'm like, man, can I hold you accountable? I think you botched that. You better never do that to me, all right? In my relationship with you, I want to have full transparency.
Like, that's the piece I was looking for?
That's what I was looking for, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's hard and scary to be really honest, because when you're honest, you are vulnerable. And I think that freaks people out, that level of vulnerability and intimacy. And to be truthful and really like 100% honest all the time is scary. And I think that a lot of people hold back because they think it's going to jeopardize the relationship. I think that if I tell you the truth, that you might like me less.
Right.
Well, I mean, are those the kind of relationships that we want?
Ultimately, no. Right. But I think it happens everywhere all the time that people are pulling back, they're holding back, they're pulling punches, they're not being honest in an effort to save the relationship. And ultimately, you end up costing the relationship because you're not telling the truth.
100% correct.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. It's just, part of people, as much as it pains people to get sometimes the truth, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, they're going to appreciate that far more and respect you individually far more.
Yeah. Like if you have a significant other, your significant other says, hey, do these jeans make me look fat?
You should
always say no.
The painful answer.
That's a trap.
Right? It is. It's a trap. You're kind of screwed either way. You're kind of screwed.
But you don't want to, you wouldn't want her letting you go out looking like an animal with
bingo.
Adam, that's a bad analogy. We can't go with that one.
You're screwed either way. Okay, so
100% of the time, that's a no.
Yeah. So and you have to be clear on what does radical transparency and honesty look like. And that's a good example because you could make an argument for not being 10 out of 10 honest all the time with people. Right. And not everyone wants it. Not everyone can take it.
Right.
In my life, though, I want to surround people with they're going to tell me, and my spouse probably does not want 10 out of 10 honesty. My spouse probably wants 8.5 out of 10 honesty. Adam, though, wants 10 out of 10. All right. If I look fat in my jeans, please tell me. If I got something in my teeth, please tell me. If I got a booger on my face,
I would not be offended.
Please tell me.
I will appreciate. That'll take our relationship to the next level.
Bingo.
Like, oh man, you got. I'm like, oh man, thanks. Man.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. You ever pronounce a word wrong, and then someone calls you on it?
Yeah.
And at first you're like,
mother.
I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I'm a grown up. I say the words how I want to say it. Right? You knew what I meant when I said it, right? And so the initial knee-jerk reaction is to push back and be like, hey, man, don't tell me what to do. I'm a grown up. I challenge myself, right? So I challenge myself that when someone is honest enough with me and gives me the gift of that honesty, because oftentimes it's hard to challenge a grown-up and say, hey, man, you stepped in it. You said that wrong. You had a booger on your face. Check yourself.
It's like faux, right?
Yeah, so I like to challenge myself and push myself to be open to that and receive that as a gift and say, all right, okay, ultimately, I want to say the words the right way. Yeah. I don't want to sound like an idiot. I don't want to look fat. I don't want to have a booger on my face. And so when someone gives me the gift of really transparent honesty, then I try to take that, and to grow from that.
Yeah.
But it's scary. And so as I choose my tribe, right? Mm-hmm. All this relates to tribe. When I choose my tribe, the people that I look for are the people that respect themselves, they respect me, are trying to push themselves and grow, and are going to be honest with me, give me the gift, and they're going to tell me things that might be scary to them. They're going to tell me things that they might think I'm going to push back and fight with them on, and I try to promise to myself and them that I won't do that, and I want them to allow me to push them too. Iron sharpens iron, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that we need strong men and strong women and strong professionals in our life that are not afraid of the friction and realize that the friction is how you get the result that you want.
100%.
I think there's a ton of power in that.
A lot of growth comes from friction and uncomfortableness.
Absolutely, yeah.
Getting out of your comfort zone, having those uncomfortable conversations creates the growth.
I would argue anything worth having or anything worth, that you value. In my life experience, being in the military and doing public service and other things, it seems like the hard stuff is always the stuff that you're the most proud of.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you proved it.
Yeah, the higher the mountain, the better the view at the top.
Right. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. The harder it is, the bigger the accomplishment. Yeah, every time.
So I realized we had totally skipped like an intro, like a who's Adam. By the way,
hi, my name's Adam Heafner.
Yeah,
with, First Rate Financial.
Like where you came from. For those for those who are just jumping on, and I myself make mistakes, and we actually had a 3 or 4 minute already pre kind of intro, and then I realized I didn't hit the record button. So Adam has already done this who's Adam and where he came from. So I feel like the second time is going to be way better.
I like that, Justin. Just holding yourself accountable over there. I like that. High standards. So my name is Adam Heafner. I am an Alaska boy, right? I was born and raised right here in Anchorage, Alaska. Grew up off of 81st and Arctic, right near Diamond. I went to Diamond High School, graduated 2000.
Just a few years above me.
Yeah.
Billy and I both went to East.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
2004.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I always felt like I was a young man, and then I turned 40 last year, and once I turned 40, it became apparent in all these areas that all right, maybe I'm not as young as I thought I was, because I started talking to new home buyers that had been born after I graduated.
Right.
And if you were born after I graduated, now you're buying a house. I was like, oh man, I think I got to the point where I'm in the later stages. I have to admit to myself, I'm now over 40.
Yeah, the younger generation who are in their early 20s and right after, at graduating high school, we're at that stage where they're like, oh, you're almost 40, you're old.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, I think I heard you say it one time. You said, I'm the same age I've always been. Everyone else just keeps getting younger.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I feel the same age in my head all the time.
Really, that's true. It's true.
And if you are like a young person, is just younger than me, and an old person is older than me. That's kind of my metric. Is wherever I'm at in life. Yeah. I love Alaska though, man. Alaska is my home. Always will be. I was born and raised up here. Left for a while. Ended up coming back, and I'm here now because I want to be here. Grew up outside playing. My family. We were a one-income family. Mom stayed home with the kids. I got a brother. Never had a bunch of money, but my dad always had a raft and like a whitewater raft. And we were big on camping, so we're always out in the raft. We're fishing. Camping. Just having fun as a family, making memories outside.
That was my growing up too, man. So it sounds like the standard the Alaskan story here.
Yeah.
And then you leave and then come back. And
I feel like we did a lot with not a lot of things. Camping gear is super. The barrier to entry for that's pretty low. And I would argue the wealth of natural resource that we have here, that's a different experience.
Yeah.
Well, there was no high-speed internet back in the day, right? There was no gaming. There was no iPhone.
I only played outside. I don't remember ever being inside when I was a kid.
No, dude, it was like Super Nintendo. It was like regular NES.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when that came
Atari.
out. Duck Hunter. I was playing Duck Hunter,
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, original NES. Yeah, I'd take my Huffy bike. Had a Huffy bike. Me and my buddy would take our Huffy bikes down to Campbell Creek, and we'd go trout fishing, We'd go trout fishing. We'd go to the 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, a big gulp. And
get a bike everywhere.
I was living. Yeah, exactly.
That was the thing to do. I was telling someone that I was probably 11. I was drive across the bridge and go downtown and hang out hang out on Fifth Avenue and down at the mall and go to Bosco's and go to the little card shop. There was stuff to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little different life back then.
I love Alaska. I think Alaska is a great place to raise kids, because of these stories. And so if you grow up in Alaska as a kid, there is, there's bugs, there's campfire, there's smoke in my eyes, there's tarps and rain and Gore-Tex and my Huffy bicycle, there's fishing and fish slime and all of the the texture that comes with life in Alaska. And I think it creates good people. I think it's we have good. As a society in Alaska, we have good morals and values, know. I was in Vegas not too long ago, and I'm walking around in Vegas, and the morals and values of Vegas
are indifferent.
They're just whacked out, And I was like, I would not want to raise a kid in a place like this.
In a place called Sin City?
Yeah, exactly. Or even just a big city, you know,
Right.
like, you know, you go to any big city. I wouldn't want to raise my kids in a big city where the emphasis is on wealth, status, power, climbing over someone else to get what you want. Like that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Is it's climbing over other people, you know? And I think in Alaska, we do a good job of valuing our neighbor and our friend.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in Southern California for a while. If your car broke down on the highway in Southern California, you would die of thirst before anyone stopped to ask if you were okay, to let you borrow their cell phone, to check in on you. Like, you would die on the highway. In Alaska,
You don't do that.
With 3
that
million
blows
people
my
driving
mind.
by you.
yeah.
That blows my mind. You know, and that was a culture shock to me when I went down to the States, you know, like when I first went to the Army or whatever, went down to the South. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is crazy. But like, you know, somebody's here with a hazard on, I would pull over. If no one's there, you just check and say, hey, you're good. All right, cool. Right. But that's it. I didn't realize that was like the Alaskan thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of my favorite things. You know, like it's winter outside. I got a big truck, and I keep a tow strap in my truck. I love stopping and pulling people out of the ditch.
Yep.
You know, you're stuck in the snow, man. I'm stopping to help. I'm stopping.
You're not going to be able to get it out with that Tacoma? Stand by.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. Like, I'm proud of Alaskans when I see other Alaskans
Right.
helping Alaskans.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that our state does really well.
Yeah.
You know, like, we stick together, and it makes me proud to be Alaskan, man. Like, that's why I'm here. It's why I'm proud to raise my kids in this environment, to take them out and into the woods, into the forest, to teach them how to survive and to be self-reliant. You know, I think there's a big self-reliancy in Alaska. I think that's a big value.
I agree, man. It's Alaska's a unique spot, man. It's tough to go other places and kind of get that feel, that small town, small state feel, and that kind of like that Alaskan vibe.
It's definitely a
That's
distinct
missing.
culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, way
It is.
different.
It's super cool.
Yeah. Well,
Should we talk about some real estate?
we can. And that was going to bring me into the next section here about the how Adam is Adam,
Sure.
and that is like, you know, how'd you get into being a loan originator and becoming an owner of First Rate?
Sure.
Like, what's the story behind that?
So I got into selling car stereos when I was in high school. I kind of I've been working, you know, since I was a kid, you know, mowing lawns door to door.
Open up your Crutchfield magazine.
Yeah, exactly. I remember
Very good.
Crutchfield magazine. Yeah. And so, like, that was, you know, Crutchfield magazine. I was, you know, 14, 15, 16. Bought my first car when I was not yet 16. So I didn't even have my driver's license
Right.
yet, but I knew I was going to turn 16. So I was saving my money from mowing lawns. And I was a telemarketer, actually, when I was 14 and 15. Amongst other strange things that Adam did, I was a telemarketer for the Fraternal Order of Alaska State Troopers.
Oh,
And so I would take the bus. I'd take the bus downtown to go sit on the phone and sell concert tickets to people, you know. So I bought myself a 1985 Chevrolet Impala.
All right.
And that was my first car when I was 16. And so I was into Crutchfield, and I was, you know, listening to, you know, Tupac and Biggie and Snoop and Dre and all, like, you know, the old school, like,
West
90s.
Side Connection.
West Side Connection, yeah. Mac 10. And
What brand were your 15-inch subs?
so I was into all of it, right? And so I
Alpine.
had my 85 Chevrolet Impala, and I wanted a stereo, but I was broke. And so what I got myself a home stereo receiver, and I got myself two 15-inch home speakers. These aren't like subwoofers; they're like
Box
speakers.
speakers.
Yeah, big box
Oh,
speakers
yeah.
with the 15-inch sub, but also like, you know, mid-range and tweeters.
Yeah.
Those
I
are
put
those perform better anyway, arguably, because they're not in like a little tin can. You know?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
threw a couple of those in the trunk because that Impala, I could have fit like 4 dead bodies in there. So they swallowed these 2 big home speakers. I had to get an AC to DC converter to, you know, so I could run my home stereo receiver off the, you know, the car battery. Shoved that under my rear seat, and so I'd roll around with my 15s in the trunk in my Impala. And so then I got into selling car stereos for Shimmick's Car Audio a long
I
time
remember
ago.
Shimmick's.
Yeah, long time ago. And then I got into selling home theater equipment, you know,
Yeah.
which is like, and this is back when plasma TVs first came out, and to get a high-end plasma was like 10 to 20 grand, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was toys for rich people. Is really is what it was. And so one day a rich guy walked in, drove up in this like ballin' S55 Mercedes Benz, and he became a client. I was selling him all kinds of cool things, and eventually he offered me a job. He's like, "Hey man, you're a smart young guy. You ever you know, consider your options? You'd be interested in something like this." And the guy owned a mortgage company, and I didn't know how to spell mortgage, had no desire to get into mortgages,
Yeah.
but this dude was balling. And I was like, man, yeah, sure. That looks like a good idea to me. Teach me to do what you do.
Right. How lucky
Right.
to have that interaction at such a young age. You're like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got hired as a loan processor. And this is like in the early 2000s. I got dumped into a cubicle, had like no training, ton of stress. It was a mess at first. It stressed me out so bad that the stress manifested itself in physical ways in my body. And I would
It'll do that.
go home and like the soft part underneath my eye, I'd go home and I'd be like ironing my shirts, watching TV, and my eye would start twitching. Like the soft part underneath my eye would start twitching. And I couldn't get it to go away.
Laugh, but I
Been there.
Yeah. I was like, man, this is bad. I'd touch it. I'd try to make it go away. I'd go have a beer or whiskey, and then it was tough. Eventually, though, I figured it out. I conquered that monster, climbed on top, figured out how to write it, and got good at processing loans.
Right.
And then I became a junior loan officer, and then a loan officer. And to make a long story short, there's a bunch of other happenings in there. Well, I'll try to do as quick as I can. So the guy that hired me, the rich guy with the car, he was the owner of the company. His name was Justin. Justin owned the company. First Alaska Mortgage was the name of the company. I was Justin's processor. Then I was Justin's baby loan officer. Then 2008, 2009 happened, which was like the Great Recession.
Yep.
And the industry just blew apart, all right? It's just like this collapsed, housing industry collapsed. Lenders were going out of business just left and right. They're just dying like flies. First Alaska Mortgage got shut down. Justin filed bankruptcy, left town. I was like a baby loan officer, had never done it on my own. The only other skill I really had was selling stereos, and I didn't want to go back to that. So I worked at a deal where I bought the database from Justin, and then I took my book of business and I went over to First Rate Financial. First Rate Financial was started by my buddy named Jason. Jason and Justin, who owned First Alaska Mortgage, were buddies since way before Adam was around. They were in the car industry together. Then when Justin got into mortgage, Jason got into real estate. He was a real estate agent for a while. Jason came to work at First Alaska Mortgage, same time I was there. So the two boys are buddies. Justin owns a company. Jason's top producer. Baby Adam is a processor. Jason and Justin, the two buddies, have a falling out. Jason wants to go open his own shop. Big breakup, yelling, cussing, throwing things. Jason leaves. Jason opens First Rate Financial, right? So Justin leaves town during the Great Recession. Adam goes over to Jason's shop, First Rate Financial. Jason and I cowboy it through the Great Recession. Like, we're bootstrapping this thing. It's basically me and him doing loans. We have a very small staff, but we're staying alive and we're doing it. Economy recovers. We start growing. Jason and Adam are like, we're doing big things. Production grows. Justin, 4 or 5 years later, comes back to Alaska. He moves back to Alaska. The two boys make up their friendship. We get the band back together, right? It's Jason, Justin, Adam. Used to all work at the old shop.
They're going to insert
Big
the
breakup.
boys come back to town right there.
Boys come back to town. Yeah, and we got back together, man. It was super cool. It was a reunion, we'd had lots of history there. There was some pride issues and then some humbling, and it was awesome to have it all come back together. And man, we were the best of friends. We had a very close relationship, the three of us, and it was the three of us producing loans really kind of like by ourselves, just nose to the ground, just doing the damn thing. Adam had a business. Justin had a business. Jason kind of ran the business and was Playboy style, because he ran the business, and every time I made $1, Jason made $1, and if Justin made $1, Jason made $1. So Jason was making double dollars. It was a good deal. I got to the point where my business was top 1% in America. Justin's right next to me, top 1% in America. We're closing $65 million in loans a piece or something like that.
That's pretty good.
We were very different in styles, very, very different. We could not have been more different in our styles, our skill sets, the way that we grew our team. And we competed, friendly competition. We got to the end result every year, very, very different ways, but the numbers were like almost identical. We're closing hundreds of loans. We'd end up like 2 or 3 apart, right? Like every single year. I beat him every single year, but by a really small margin, okay? By a really small margin. So
it's okay. We won't tell them. This is not public. This is not public at all.
Yeah. So the three of us, we were in New York City back in the end of 2017. Is late. We're walking around after a wonderful dinner, and we're strategizing for the next coming year, doing some goal setting. Justin and I are talking, and we come upon this idea. We're like, hey, man, listen, we both like crushed last year, very different ways. I'm good at what you're bad at. You're good. What I'm bad at. What would happen if we teamed up? Like do like a team up situation, form like Voltron.
Right.
Like what could we get something that was greater than the sum of our parts if we were to combine forces?
Synergy.
Yeah, some synergy. So we started talking about that, and we got back and Jason chewed on, the conversation for a while, and he's like, all right, like my two buddies are about to like team up and do this thing. And so he approached us both and he's like, hey, I got an idea. How about instead of two of you teaming up, all three of us team up? Let's do something big together. Jason gave us each a third of the business. Didn't have to, but he's like, hey, man, you guys are, the heart and soul of this. It's the three of us together, three musketeers. I'm going to give you each a third. Let's come up with a new vision, a new mission. Let's like, what do we really want to do big with this thing? It was a really cool opportunity. And so we went, back to the drawing board. We got really serious about it. And we wrote a new mission for the company. We wrote a new vision statement. We solidified our core values. We wrote them down. We're serious about our core values and our mission statement. And everything that we do today is in line and in support of our mission and our core values. It's been huge. We had a company, our company's probably 8 people, maybe 10 people. Now we have about 50 people. We got offices in Anchorage. Yeah, Anchorage, Fairbanks, Wasilla. We're about to open an office in Juneau. We got a loan officer down there. We got a loan officer in Soldotna
Who's
now.
looking for space for you? Let me know if you need help.
Absolutely, yeah. We moved into a big new office.
Shameless
here.
plug.
Exactly. No guy. So we moved into a new big office here in Anchorage. We started building out our space. We'd been in the same office since the company had started. And so end of 2019, we're like, man, we need a bigger space to really do what we want to do. We signed a lease 3 times the space, 3 times the cost, huge 6-figure build out bill, And so we start building this thing out. We're stoked. Then 2020 happens. January, February, things going cool. March happens. We all thought we were going to die. Like it's, here comes COVID.
Shit.
Yeah. And then right after we all thought we were going to die, and they're like, hey, shelter in place. It'll be over in 2 weeks, right? Is what they told us.
2 weeks to, what was it? 2 weeks to
2 years.
Yeah, 2 weeks to whatever there is. They were saying.
To come over the whatever.
Yeah, I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
That obviously was.
It was pretty crazy. We thought we
Propaganda.
were going to die. And then during that period, you might remember that the federal government came out and said, all right, if you have a mortgage, you don't have to pay it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Forbearance for everybody.
I feel like that was an alarming announcement.
Doubly so if you gave mortgages, okay?
Yeah. Right.
Like if you're the guy giving mortgages and all of a sudden the federal government's like, yeah, the mortgages, the promises you made, yeah, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to pay them. You can stop paying the mortgages. That's fine.
Yeah.
So if you're the guy that gives mortgages, if you're lending the money, what incentive do you have to lend more money to someone who, as soon as you give them the money, can put their mortgage into forbearance and not make payments?
Right.
And this was happening all over the country where people were getting mortgages and before the first payment, put it into forbearance. So you got a brand new mortgage, not make payments on it. The mortgage companies are freaked out. Okay? Freaked out. So it looked like the whole thing was going to collapse. Like this whole mortgage thing was going to collapse there for a minute. But it all worked out. Ended up 2020, 21, great years.
One of the hottest market in a long, long, long time.
I've heard that. Yeah.
It's this year is going to be different, and so that brings us into 2023 because obviously our market has shifted incredibly, right? I mean, you guys are seeing refis are gone.
Yep.
Rates were almost at 8%.
Yeah, they were like
right?
high 7s. Yeah.
Yeah, like some were jumping in the 8s, depending on credit scores and qualifications, right? Now we're down into the low 6s, high 5s for some, which is normal-ish for for the history of interest rates, right?
Really, 6 to 7 is pretty normal. Yeah.
So like we're finally in that like ballpark realm of historically normal rates, but low inventory. I keep saying that I think 2023 is still going to be a decent year for real estate, but I think it's also going to be an incredible year for investors.
I agree.
What's your thoughts?
I think now is a great time to buy. Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor of our generation, says that you should be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Right now, there's a lot of fear out there. People are scared. Is the housing going to collapse? Are rates going to come down? Prices going to fall? What's going on? Inflation's a huge topic right now. I think right now is an amazing time to buy. We have seen over the past 2 years, it's been a hardcore seller's market.
Big time.
Like I've never seen. Okay, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, it's crazy.
People paying $100,000 over list price, waiving their appraisals, waiving inspections, waiving sight unseen. It's been crazy out there. Right now, we have an opportunity where there's a little bit of softness in pricing. You might be able to get yourself a seller credit. You might be able to get a little bit of a discount. You might be able to negotiate and get some repairs done.
Yeah.
Closing costs, all that stuff.
Closing costs. It's coming back, man. It's starting to look more normal again.
Yeah.
I think this is a blip. I don't think that we are establishing a new normal. I don't think we're getting back to normal. I think this is a blip.
Yep.
What's going to happen is, as you were just discussing, Justin, rates are coming back down. Are they going to 2 to 3? No, they're not going back to 3%. Mark my word, they're not going back to 3. They are going to go back to 5. Okay, they're going to go back to 5 point something. I think that's where we're going to end up in the next, 3 to 12 months. I think that's where we're going. Inventory. There's no inventory.
Low.
There's just
low.
no homes out there.
Yeah.
There's no homes out there. There is still a lot of demand, though.
Yeah, which is funny because inventory, and a lot of people, of course, they're watching CNN, NBC, Fox News, whatever they're watching, right? And of course, it's like, oh my God, home prices are falling, they're tanking, and it's like, and it's really market dependent, right? And so, I've got friends in Texas and whatever else, and so I was chatting with one of them last night, and they have almost 7 months of inventory in Austin,
Wow.
right? And
Right
here we
now?
are
Like a
in
month.
Anchorage,
Yeah.
1 month,
Yeah.
right? Like we've got all these buyers that can't find anything.
It's the pendulum. So the places that went up the most are going to have the most to
Huge.
give back.
Correct.
And Austin was like right at the top of the list.
Yep.
Of
Boise,
just ridiculous
Austin,
appreciation.
Vegas.
Not even and it was like, I'm not even sure what the right adjective is to describe that. It was not ridiculous. It's not crazy. It's not insane. It's something greater than that of like what was going on in Austin and some other these places. It was just out of control,
Stupid.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Not safe, unsustainable.
Yeah. Honestly, you can't do 40% year over year and not expect
Some of it to come back. Exactly.
Right.
And so frankly, a lot of it, it's not that prices are crashing and falling. They're still higher than they were in 2019. So
Correct.
even some of those markets that are actively giving back some of that gain, they could give back a ton more and they'll still be higher than it was in 2019.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? In our local market, there is still a lot of demand. There's no inventory. Rates are coming back down.
Yep.
As rates come back down, you're going to have more demand. And I think there's been pent up demand. There's a lot of
Yes.
people that are like threw their hands up in the past 12 to 24 months.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to wait for this. So there's a bunch of pent up demand as rates come back down. Demand shoots up. The low inventory is going to get sucked up real fast.
Yep.
Prices are going to go, I think they're going to go back up again. So I think that right now we're in a spot where as a buyer, you can get a deal. I think you potentially going to lose that opportunity for a deal sometime in the next 6 months.
Right.
So I think the time to buy is right now, and you can always refinance later.
Right.
I think spring's going to be another hot spring. I think because we have no inventory, and if Q1's going to be some lower rates, I'm thinking probably mid, low fives. We've got no inventory.
I'm hoping we see
And we've
a bunch
got
of
buyers
stuff
come
hit the
back.
market. But
I'm hoping,
But,
but-
we're seeing it on the call. And in the numbers and the analytics now, you're seeing the demand already increase slightly as we're moving towards
After the first few years, we picked up quite a bit.
There's
so.
this weird dynamic in real estate where in any other market, so like if you sell Ford pickup trucks,
Right.
and you normally have got there's this equilibrium between supply and demand, right? So there's enough buyers and sellers that the price of the pickup trucks just becomes normal, right? Well, if demand plummets, right? Demand plummets, what happens to the supply or inventory of pickup trucks? It goes up.
It goes up.
So in any market where one of the two sides of the equation gets out of balance, the other one tends to go out of whack in
Right.
the other direction, right? So if demand drops, supply then goes up. I've got a glut of trucks. If there's not enough trucks, the amount of trucks goes down, what happens to demand? Demand skyrockets,
Yeah.
right? Prices go up. And so that's a normal market. In real estate, it's totally different. In real estate, your buyers are sellers and your sellers are buyers.
Yep.
And so when there's no inventory, there's no buyers, right? And we have there's not very much demand and there's not very much inventory,
Right.
because the would-be buyers have to list their home, and they're not going to list their home
There's nothing to buy.
till they feel confident they can get another home.
Yeah.
And I think that rates play a part of that too. The rates are a bit psychological. When rates are just going up, 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 up and away, it's scary. And so let's go wait and see. As the rates find a settling point, 5, 6-ish%, which is going to be the new normal in that zone, I think people feel comfortable then to relist their homes and start looking for a new one. And I think that we'll start to see the demand and supply go up together.
Right.
I hope that is true.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. What was that? Yeah, knock on this particle board table here.
Yeah, exactly. Investors, though. You mentioned investors, though, Justin. I think that there are a whole population of people. You got 30-year-olds. 30-year-olds are getting married, having babies, trying to buy homes. If you are 30 years old and you're wanting to buy your first home, for your entire adult life, interest rates have been 3% or below.
Yep.
You've never seen a 4 or a 5% interest rate in like your entire adult life. And so I think there's a lot of people that are going to like psych themselves out and not buy homes and just continue to rent because they're hoping it's going to get back to what it looked like back then. And I think there's a bunch of really great tenants out there. Like I want that guy to be my tenant.
Right.
You know, that guy, I got something I want to rent to you.
Yeah.
So for the savvy investor, I think there's a lot of opportunity right now in affordable housing. You know, you get yourself a nice duplex, a fourplex, you got a nice tenant in there, it's got a good job starting a family, you got a good long-term tenant.
Well, it's interesting, you know, if we look at kind of what you just talked about, right? And you know, these people that are 30, they haven't seen that rate in their entire adult life, right? These are all the same people that are renting, right? So when we did see those rates go up, some of those people did get edged out. And so we have that increased need now for that low-income housing or the more affordable housing or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of the FHA, VA buyers that are first-time buyers got pushed out of the market
Just
in
like
the last few
people that
years.
were marginal.
They just didn't have the capital to do 20,
Yes.
30, 40,000 over asking, or you know, those who needed closing cost assistance or whatever else, or seller concessions. I mean, they definitely weren't getting that.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, those buyers should definitely right now be looking before the spring market hits.
Yes.
Because I think once again they'll be pushed out again.
Right. Totally agree.
So-
now is the time to strike. When
Yeah.
everyone else is a little bit like tepid, that you don't want to go racing again, right? Once everyone
Right.
starts running, man, you got to try to run faster than them. Right now, there's easy pickings. There's some easy pickings.
Right,
Maybe
and
not
the
a lot of inventory.
List price is
You gotta
only
be-
asking price right now, right?
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and the way that the market has changed slightly is like, hey, you know, it's been on the market for 150 days at this, you know, let's offer them a little less and see if they'll go for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some people are being successful with that.
Yeah.
You know,
We're seeing seller concessions on
Yeah.
closing cost assistance, price reductions, you know, amicable on repairs, right? Which they haven't been for like 2 years.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just, you know, I hope that we get a lot of the first time home buyers who maybe just don't have the budget or savings, right? That they can wrap in their down payment plus closing cost to like really consider purchasing
reduce
and
some of
looking
those
now
barriers for them, right?
because we can get
because
seller
we can
concessions.
get those concessions, so we can
Yeah.
help them out on the backside.
You know, everyone wants to time the market.
Yeah.
Right? Time
There's
the
no
market.
timing it.
Every time I hear someone talk about time the market, I remember this like, you know, like YouTube or Instagram or something on the internet. Saw years ago, and it was like a frat party. So it's a bunch of these like drunk frat boys, and they're in some little apartment with like a low ceiling. You know, and they've been drinking all night. You can tell one of them is standing on a chair underneath the ceiling fan. The ceiling fan is spinning, and his buddies are cheering for him. And you see this guy kind of bobbing up and down. And after a second, you get the idea. Okay, this guy is going to try to like jump up and get his head in and out of the ceiling fan without it smacking him.
Right.
You know, like, and you're like, oh man, I see this coming, and you can't help but watch it anyways because you just want to see.
Right.
And sure enough, this guy, he jumps, he takes his head and whack, whacks him in the head. He falls off, and his buddies are laughing. And so to me, that's timing the market. All right, it's trying to stick your head into the ceiling fan. There's no way to time the market.
No.
That being said, I think there's opportunity right now. The hard thing is, in order to time the market, you've got to be bold and brave. When doing big things, none of us want to be the first lemming off the bridge.
Right.
Like, how about you two jump first, and if you live, then I'll jump next, right? But I don't want to be the first guy to jump. In order to time the market, you have to be willing to be
The guy that jumps first.
the guy that jumps first.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's what Warren Buffett's saying. You need to be greedy when others are fearful.
Yeah,
And so when
100%.
others are a little bit scared, man, if you were going to time the market, I hope this plays out, but man, I bet you if you're going to time the market, the time to buy is right now.
You don't have
You go-
competition, right? You know, you
Yeah.
see something at 400,000 that's been on the market for 3-4 months that you got
Yeah.
an eye on. Let's go talk to him.
Yeah.
See if we could get it for,
Yeah.
380. And then while we're there, let's ask for some closing costs and probably all these repairs.
Yeah, and a good chance you're going to get it.
Yeah.
You wait another 12 months, and man, you're going to be climbing over buyers again.
I mean, 3 months,
Yeah.
4 months,
Yeah.
right? And so the best analogy I heard was it's easy to win a race that no one else is running, But
That's
the
the
minute,
truth.
and then that's right now. So in 3-4 months in the spring, right, we're going to see some inventory come back, but we're also going to see the buyer pool continue to increase as the rates go down, right? More people run in that race. So that's the faster you're going to have to run and the more competition you're racing with, right?
Absolutely,
So,
yeah. And to kind of, I know we're kind of running out of time here, but to kind of wrap this up a little bit, what I think is that to me, in order to be the brave lemming that jumps off the bridge first, and in order to be able to be the one that capitalizes on that opportunity, you need to be prepared. You need to be ready.
Yes.
You need to be prepared and ready financially, emotionally, intellectually. You need to have your research done.
Yeah.
You need to have a plan. You need to be ready to execute. I need to know where I am today and where I want to get to. I want to have talked to a professional who has helped me identify my course.
Yes.
Am I going to take a boat, a plane, a truck, a Corvette, a Jeep? Like, how am I going to get to my destination?
Yeah.
I want to have the route planned out, where I'm stopping for lunch, where I'm getting my gas. Like, I want to be ready.
Yeah.
And it's not until you're all the way prepared in those ways are you able to take that jump, to time the market. And if you don't have your homework done in advance, you're always going to be chasing someone else.
Right.
Because the trigger for you to move isn't your own decision. It's, I think I'm going to miss it. They're all ahead of me. I got to go.
Right.
And if you are playing catch up out of fear, you're never going to win.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. I know you're on a time crunch, and I definitely want to respect that. So we ask every single guest at the very end, what are 5 tips or tricks that you can give a young entrepreneur, new business owner?
An entrepreneur or business owner.
Yeah.
Sure, 5. That's a lot, actually. Okay, so 1, you have to be intentional about your tribe. You need to be intentional about your tribe. You have to find people that are willing to be honest with you. If you surround yourself with friends that tell you you're doing a good job all of the time, they're lying to you. No one's doing a good job all the time. I'm not, you're not, I don't believe anyone is. There ain't no human being out there who's winning in all of the things. If your friends tell you you're winning all the time, high-fiving you, good job, buddy, they're lying to you. Find better friends, okay? Find someone who's going to tell you you're effing up, who's brave enough and cares about you enough, loves you enough to tell you, hey, man, you're slipping, get your act together.
Yeah.
Right? Who will fight you a little bit. 2, pay your taxes.
Yes.
Specifically for young business owners, real estate agents, mortgage guys, anyone. If you are a business owner, plan for your taxes. If you don't pay for your taxes, you don't plan for your taxes, they will crush you. I've seen more really great businesses and really great professionals die because they didn't plan for their taxes. 3, you should buy a fourplex, okay? You should buy a fourplex. You should use your FHA benefits. You should buy a fourplex. You should get into this real estate game. There's a tremendous opportunity to build wealth. You can get in for very little money. For 20 grand ish, you can buy yourself an income producing building that's going to allow you to live in it for little to nothing while you are getting your business up off the ground. And so you need to minimize your expenses. And oftentimes the best defense is a good offense. So rather than just trimming expenses, I'd rather provide some income. So buy yourself a fourplex, FHA 3.5% down, find yourself a great real estate professional and mortgage pro.
We know a few of those.
Yeah. 5, I saw something recently, it was maybe a TikTok or something, and some guy smarter and richer than me, he says that expenses are like fingernails. They always need to be trimmed. And I think that's real true. As you grow, as you become successful, you get more cash flow coming in. It's easy to forget that.
Yeah.
And so I think you always need to be minding your expenses. Okay, so always be trimming your expenses. 5, your job as a business owner is to find talent. Your job is not to build widgets or to sell widgets. Your job ultimately, if you're the owner, if you are the entrepreneur, your job is to find, recruit, and keep talent. Find talented people, right, that are willing to be honest with you, that will allow you to be honest with them.
Right.
Find good people, hire those people, keep those people. Pay them market, pay them above market. Don't let them go.
Yeah.
That's my 5.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thanks.
That's a good 5. So I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. I'm sure we can
my
talk
pleasure.
real estate for like 14 hours
We
straight.
have to do it again. I'd love to talk about more things.
I know, seriously. We'll
I
have
want to talk about
to.
some of these off-roading trips you're doing.
Oh yeah, I got to talk for 30 minutes just about mud tires. All right, so
Yeah, let's do
that's a whole other thing.
I'm sure we could probably talk another 3 minutes just about Crutchfield magazine.
Yes, exactly.
Man.
That's
So I used to run
throwback.
those kicker L7s. You remember the square?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, the kickers, yeah.
I got a whole
big time.
presentation about the L7s. All right, so next time I see you, we're talking about those.
You better bring that.
Those kickers, those kickers. I'll tell you all about them. We'll get amplifiers, and we'll get into sound waves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, voice coils. Yeah.
I used to run 151 no wall back in the day, like
Look at you guys already getting into it.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
All right, we'll come back. We'll do that next time for sure.
Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on, and really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And yeah, hopefully the listeners get a good kick out of us, talking OG stuff, and then also dropping some real estate knowledge.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Bye, guys.